Welcome, my people, to another episode of Exclusive Visions podcast, Love, Life, and Business, where we discuss real life and business issues that matter. Today, we have a real special guest in the building. This person is the king of when it's talking about sales. He is that guy when you need help within your business, you go to. He is my mentor, even though he hates me calling him his mentor. He don't do that. I don't know why. He's never even told me this. But he's an amazing individual who is just literally like treasure trove of knowledge. Right now, I'm just like tongue-tied because this guy is in the building and I've been wanting him in the building for so long, and you're gonna see why in a moment. But can we please give a massive round of applause to the one and only Dr. Vonley Joseph? Woo! I know you're not a doctor yet, but I'm just putting it out there into the ether. Yeah? I know it's going to be happening real soon. But introduce yourself to the people. Let everyone know who you are, what you do, and why you're so special. Not just to me in my heart, but just in general.
My name's Vonley Joseph, and I help people to get results through selling primarily, but also I'm an education specialist in terms of getting people results. That's the key, really. It's all about getting results, especially at the grassroots. I've spent a lot of my time focusing on inner cities, especially young people and so on, encouraging them to be self-sufficient. So that's where my heart really lies, although I've worked from the grassroots to the City of London, really, on all different types of things with all different business associates. I've worked abroad as well, in the Caribbean and in Africa, North Africa particularly, setting up projects over there. And I've helped people all over the world when it comes to sales. Strange, because I don't really see myself as a specialist. I just get on with it. It's something I've done since I was 16 years old. I'm over 50 now. But people seem to feel that I've got a certain amount of information they tap into, so I'm happy to give that information as and when need be.
Absolutely love that. And this is a time when I tell people to subscribe to our channel, press the notification bell, click if you like it, give us a thumbs up, Even a thumbs down, don't even mind. But if you do that, though, at least leave a comment and let me know why. And really, one of the key things we're going to need people to do now, stop being so tight, man, and start giving us some Patreon money. So click onto our Patreon link below in the chat. No, in the chat. George, where is it at? Where's the link going to be, George? Well, George is going to put the link somewhere, so you're gonna find it in the description. Thank you, George. George is sitting down there, like, say that he's not part of this whole show. So yeah, please, like, click onto the Patreon. Click the one that relates to you and donate, people. Don't be tight. We need you. Stretch has got some chickens that he needs to start feeding. So let's make it happen. Now, we're going to get into today. Like, I've been waiting for this. Vonley was so, like, don't even send me the questions, Like, just keep it organic. I just want you to surprise me. I'm going to show you how great I am. Just like Muhammad Ali, we have a GOAT in the building. So I'm going to be throwing some stuff right now at you. And I want you to tell me, Joseph, Vonley, from the beginning, what got you into business in the first place?
Well, it was by chance, really, because as a youngster, I suppose I was an entrepreneur for all the wrong reasons. I was never really selling illicit products, but I did a lot of badness as a youngster and paid the price for it, but managed to get a bit wise early. So when I came out of an institution at 16 years old, the intention for me was to go and build a life for myself. I met a lot of wise guys at that time. And I took a job in a place called Picton Place in the West End of London as a messenger, which is a print messenger. So I used to have to go around to offices around the West End, picking up these like tubes and dropping them off in. And at the time, Sony Walkmans just came in. So I had myself a big set of headphones and a nice Sony Walkman, flash, they used to come in these little leather packs and so on. Thought I was Jack the Lad, And I went into a place in Manchester Square, an architect place there. I've taken students there since to tell them the story. And I must have had the music way too loud, as we do as a young person. And one of the architects jumped up and slapped me in my back. Now, I had two choices, because generally I'd have pulverized him. But I had to hold my fist. I clenched up my fists. I was angry. I left everything there, dropped, run out the building. And probably a couple of hours later, I caught myself. This time my eyes are all puffed up and, I don't know what to do. I don't want to go back to that job role. I was just so angry, really angry, And then something said to me, look up. And I looked up and there's a place in Margaret Street and it said sales reps wanted. It was on a piece of cardboard in the window. And there was like a manufacturing place around the back. Margaret Street's got Great Portland Street. Them days used to have a lot of agents up there who used to supply clothing and so on. And I saw a Ferrari. So I thought, it's got to be good. So I didn't really know at the time it was connected, but I just saw the Ferrari with the roof down, whatever. So I went upstairs, barged in the office. He was sitting there talking to someone. I said, I want a job.
Just like that?
He said, just like that. All right, I just want a job. Right? I want a job. I need a job. I want a job. I want a job. He looked at me. He's an Italian guy with long hair, medallion, flashy shirt, silk shirt. He had a girlfriend as well. Yeah, well, he was definitely a bling merchant, I tell you. And he had a girlfriend looked like Linda Lasardi at the time. She was the big page figure at the time, but I think she was actually better looking, lovely looking woman. And he said to me, look, that's not the way you ask for a job. If you want a job, you come back here in the morning. I won't promise you a job, but I will interview you. So he said, come back here at 9. I was there about 8:30, 8:45. And I was right about the Ferrari, so that made me good because I see him pulling up. So he looked at me, no emotion, hardly said a word to me. Said, come on up. I got I sat down with him and he offered me the job. I took the job. Within 3 months, I was managing soldiers to go out on the road, and the job involved putting clothes in a bag and going around selling door to door in and out of offices. Those days didn't have security guards. And ironically, I used to go back in the evening because I always was cash in hand. So it's good money for me. So I used to go in the evening and sell to all my roadmates. So they'd all meet out and they're doing their hustles and whatever. I'd go and collect their money in the evening and obviously clear up in the day. And that's what got me around London because I used to be on the tube. I used to get off at different tube stations, walk loads of high streets. And then from there, it just went on to other business. I left there and went into fire extinguishers. From there, I spent a lot of years in home improvements, going around the country, which people would call a hard sell at the time. That's the 80s. That was a real lesson because I was some real classic salespeople. People going to work in sort of boiler suits in Corvette 58s and, the real story of like the tin men, as they say, except this was more home improvements. So, that journey as well. I started my first business at 20. So, sales has been a journey for me. For me, the real success for me has never really been about the financials. It's about not being a statistic. Coming out off the road, I was seen at school to be, I was expelled from 3 primary schools, or two primary schools. The last one suspended twice.
How do you get expelled from primary school?
Well, a lot of people have asked me that question. But in the last one, the headmaster taught me to play chess because I was violent, a very violent young man, angry and violent. I was seeing psychologists and psychiatrists from a very young age. And the only person that dealt with that anger was myself. So, and that came through self-education. I didn't get into the institutional side till late up in my years. So, I was a very angry man coming out of the inner city. So for me, the success is not going back and being a statistic, not going back and being on the road again. What comes after that? I've been around a lot of people in the environment and, there's a lot of materialism in sales. And I've had that journey. And for me personally, it's not about that. For me, it's about saving lives. Using sales as a tool and a weapon to open up people's minds and hearts and really encourage them to be self-sufficient in whether it's be sales and commercial or entrepreneurship. That's my focus. So that's my journey right now.
So what would you say that you specialize in, sales itself?
I specialize in selling sales.
Okay.
That's it. I sell sales.
How would you define sales?
I sell sales. I would define sales as the basis of developing a relationship and trust and empathy. Not just transactional, which is what 95% of salespeople do all over the world.
I'll break that down to me.
Well, transactional is when the salesperson, the seller, buyer, and the seller, and the salesperson goes after the sale. It's very seller focused. They're looking to convert that deal. You've got new terms now like consultative selling, adaptive selling, but they're still very seller focused. They're about really the organization itself selling its products and putting its products in the individual's hands, or to call it the buyer's hands. The way that I teach sales is more about, it's more of an emotion intelligence journey. It's getting inside that person, individual's mind, and more importantly, seeing if that person is the right person to do business with. Yes, you ask a series of questions and so on, but at the same time, you're looking to build up a relationship first. The relationship is more important than just moving the product and putting the product in front of that place and developing a level of trust with that person. Because your product may not be right for that person, and you should be able to send them somewhere else, even if it's your competitor. Because you never know, up the road that person may come back to you because you've done them a good turn. So it's about relationships and developing trust, and real to me, a high level of emotional intelligence, being able to relate to people's needs in an honest way. That's the key, really.
All right, so that's something I totally do agree with what you're saying about sales. Now it's all about building relationships and building value, making sure that you're providing an experience for the person that you're selling to. In regards to today, though, because you was born near enough when Jesus was born, right? So, but in regards to today, with the movement of technology and with all these different platforms and social media, do you feel sales has changed dramatically, or do you still think it's the same, but it's just using different tools?
That's a good question. I think I was having that discussion the other day, strangely enough, and I think it's evolving. But at the same time, even when things evolve, you get different skill sets that are applied. So today, what you've got is millennials who are mainly in the sales, and a lot of companies in the technology industry will tell you that they're struggling because they're very good at them putting on demos and getting people to clickety click, but they're not very good at closing the sale. Now, you used to get years ago, people had the art of sale. You learned the psychology of sales. You learned all the emphasis of sales. The questioning techniques, the whole 9 yards. So you've got an old guard that's very good at that, but they're not very good with computers. The millennials are very good at the technology, but they're not very good with the art of sales. So what you've got is a vacuum in between, and which is what I call is combining the two. So you're able to apply the digital, absorb that into your capacity. So all the digital sides, which people say is social media and so on, I just call it electronic media, and that incorporates everything from emails to sending out blogs to the social media, digital marketing, the whole 9 yards. It's all anything done within that space is in electronic media, and it's managing that as well as having the art to be able to close deals and knowing at each stage how you're taking a customer through a journey. So is it better now or then? I think everything has got its time. And I think a lot of people now are still selling in the ways I suppose the people did in the 80s, especially now when you've got the challenger model, which says, you don't just sit back and wait, a relationship sell type thing. You have to challenge a customer and put them on the back foot to close the deal. So, but for me, it's a mixture of all. It's a bit like management. You've got autocratic, democratic, laissez-faire. When I teach students in management, I say to them, well, look, a lot of people are putting management in boxes, but it's not necessarily the case because sometimes you have to be all three.
So break that down for me.
So all three in the sense of when someone's new, for instance, you need to be more hands-on. You need to be a bit more autocratic with them because they don't know what they're doing just yet. So that's the key to it. Or if someone's stepping out of line, you've got to discipline. You need to be a bit more authoritative within what you're doing. The democratic
So like coming
says
late.
if you're coming in late consistently, there's that end, but there's ways and means. But just shouting at somebody is not going to be sufficient.
Yeah.
Right? The democratic, yeah. So the democratic side of it is where you're being a bit more humanistic and you're opening up, laissez-faire, more hands-off. So you're looking at somebody who maybe if they're a newbie, a bit more authoritative with them, a bit more assertive. As they learn more skills, you become a bit more democratic with them because you've got more confidence in them. And then eventually you can step back and not really say much to them because they've excelled in that area. They're capable of doing that role. You don't have to say much to them. So generally you'll find that you can mix up all three. It doesn't have to be put into boxes. Academia, especially the world that I'm going into now, that journey has a way of putting things in boxes. Most people, academics, even some of the top scholars out there who've wrote books within sales, they have never sold. They're academics. So they've worked from an environment of studying sales, not actually practically applying sales. I'm a believer that if it doesn't work practically, the science, you can lose a lot of science in there. And I like to do things. I'm an empiricist. I like to do things practically, and then apply theory to it.
Yeah, and that's me as well. I'm very much tested, which I call my entrepreneurs entrepreneurial scientists, because I want them to create that hypothesis and go out there and test that idea. Because I've seen too many entrepreneurs and business people fall in love with their idea, and they have this delusion of grandeur of like, oh my God, because mummy likes it, this is going to do well. And it's like, it doesn't work like that. You have to go and test out these ideas to make sure that, yeah, one, there's a market for what you're doing. Because if there's no market for it, that means it's a wonderful hobby. And two, you've got to find out and get that data necessary to make those necessary informed choices. So I love the things what you're saying right now, especially going out there and testing out your idea. Now, this is a key thing I want to just ask you, because I've got some other questions I want to delve into. But you said something very, very interesting. We talk about academics and things like that. I have an issue with the fact that a lot of the same things you're saying, a lot of these so-called lecturers have never really even had their own business, but yet they're teaching it to other people, which again, theory is cool, but theory is only like say 10-15% of what someone really needs to know. If you, and I know you do have your own academy as well, if I'm right.
Mhm.
Okay, so what's different between your academy and let's say other institutes out there who are just delivering entrepreneurship and business things out there?
We don't know how to lose.
Oh, that's
It's
some
been the
big.
motto from day one.
Are you hearing this big? Okay, go on ahead. Let me hear this
We
one.
don't know how to lose. We're
Mhm.
warriors. We're warriors, we don't step back. We're always looking for a challenge, and within that, whether you get setbacks or not, it's how you come back from the setbacks.
But
It's how
how
you
does it
rise up.
differentiate you compared to them?
Well, new age selling is different in the sense of it's not a cutthroat business. It's not just focused on the seller. As a matter of fact, it's the complete opposite. It's really about nurturing that client, developing that client, building that client. But where new age selling comes in a bit differently is that we've got a lot of practicality
Mm.
that we apply to it. So we're not the stud, and we're mainly focusing at micros, SME level, where a lot of selling takes place, but it's been disregarded. Most sales research, I would say probably 99% of it, has been done on corporates, big corporations. So what you get is you get a certain level within that, but you don't really get the real science. The man who's running this company is having to juggle his company, is having to multitask, but also convert the sales as well, from a micro level. That's where the science is really being applied. When you've got a department, you're a manager and you can hide behind a door. Yeah, and you've got X amount and you know how to motivate people and so on. I'm not taking anything away from that, but it doesn't really test the science. Right? And what we're looking at is that fluidity in the science, being able to convert, but also multitask, because that's what sales has become now. Sales are becoming very much more multitask. It's leaning. Customer service was always part of sales, but they just dissected it away from sales. Yeah, and it's really bringing that back in more and understanding that applied science. The empathy, the trust, the maintains of the client, the building up the relationship with the client. So you get a longer term. So it becomes more of a collaborative approach.
Okay. So what I'm understanding is what you're saying, what differentiates you compared to what some of these other institutions are putting out there is you're really bringing back the humoristic side of selling. And it's not just about the techniques and the processes of sales. You're bringing that human side where you're connecting with your target audience to bring about that value and experience that we touched upon earlier.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there like certain? I don't give too much of your secret sources away.
No.
But are there any types of like matrix or formulas or like
Absolutely.
stuff that you use? Like,
Absolutely.
if you're gonna like throw a golden nugget to the audience,
Right.
listen now. What would you say? Okay, because I have an issue with a lot of these so-called entrepreneurs and business people. They want to hide behind social media, but the art of selling is being lost. So what tool or resource can you give someone in regards to a framework that can help people to actually sell?
Okay, well, social media is, and I said electronic media. I like to use that word because it's a lead generator.
Yeah.
It generates leads. It doesn't close deals necessarily. It can if you're doing like e-commerce and things like that, and you get the click-to-click. But real money sells when you're going up the scale and you want to convert in thousands. People are not likely to click and sign up for that. They want to talk to somebody. They want to gain confidence. They need to be educated. So it's a matter of combining the two. And this is where we differ. We look at the modern day sales, what sales is evolutionized, and look at the old school and bring, like you say, a level of ethics and underpinning it in that. So in terms of advice, I'm trying to think what model. All right, so the key model, one that someone can learn very fast, is what we call the 5 C's. So it's calm, if you're to remain calm, know yourself, all right, reflect on yourself. Yeah, you don't have to be a master salesperson to know yourself, but be honest with yourself. That's the first thing. And know what your strengths and weaknesses are. Know what your limitations are. And then, be that, it calms you, that sense of inner stillness. We used to call it in my martial art days, we called it a nemoin, clear mind. Nothing's set in your mind. Your mind is all flat, and then you go into your zen. So, that's what you really want, because now you're embodied with yourself, you're in touch with yourself, you know what yourself is. And a lot of that can come out of mirror practice, talking to yourself in the mirror, listening to yourself, now you've got loads of different tools you can use. We can record yourself, so many different ways you can develop that. And then, the key thing as well, in when we go through a process, we need to collect information. It's really
So far
important
it's
to collect
calm,
information.
then collect.
Calm, control.
Calm, control.
Control. So,
Okay.
stay calm, then you're in control.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're not calm, because a lot of salespeople talk very fast, very forever, and they're off the cuff, and they say, "Oh, Jack the Lad, what they call it, gift of the gab," and all that. That's not a salesperson. That's somebody who's very nervous. Yeah, somebody who hasn't really taken control of their environment and doesn't have an aura that follows them. Because as a salesperson, when you walk in the room, you should pick up the room. You know what you're doing, and it's 2 ears, 1 mouth. That's it. You should be listening more, not talking. So that's the key. So, then you're collecting that information. In today's world, that could be going on a website, checking the company out before you go there, because it's expected now. In my time, you had to go there, you had to do a lot of needs analysis and things like that. That's not necessarily required today. At times it could be if there's gaps in what you're doing, but generally that's not necessarily required. That's expected that you know enough about the company by the time you come through the door. All right, that's the level that they're at, especially with a lot of these young guys.
Calm, control, collect.
Yeah, that's the information
Okay,
state.
cool.
Collect as much information as you can, and that can be through questioning, through absorbing, and so on. And then confirm. So confirm whatever you see in your head. Communicate that over to the client, and this is where the collaboration comes in, because you want to be working together with them. So you're communicating, well, this is the way I see it. Or when we spoke about talking about putting in the plants, what sort of plants was it we were talking about? Was it on what levels are we going to grow them to? Are we going to grow them to a 2 foot, 4 foot, 6 foot plant? What do you think would be best? Right? So they're going to give you the answer around that. So it's really just facilitating that process, and not, if they want a 2 foot plant, don't be pushing a 6 foot plant, because there's more commission in it. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, give them a 2 foot plant, and then once they've got a 2 foot plant, and you've shown them how to nurture a 2 foot plant, they may be encouraged then to come back and get a 6 foot plant. So it's really managing that, and so it's really that confirmation of what's been said and communicating that back to show that you're listening, and then the consolidation process, which I always view as you should always be consolidating, but that consolidation where you've started talking about things within the relationship. So now you're building on that more, that relationship, that level of communication.
Okay, so it's
that's
calm, control, collect, confirm,
and consolidate. Yeah.
Bad man out here, man. Listen, innit? Man, listen out here. George, you didn't get that. Nah, so thank you for that. So those are the 5 C's.
Yeah.
Okay, so any entrepreneur of the
Absolutely.
ideation stage or already established in there, these are the kind of things that they can use within their sales process.
Absolutely.
To make sure that they are really providing that value.
Absolutely. Don't have to know a thing about selling either. Just know yourself. That's the key.
I have a interesting question I want to throw at you, right? So it's been a very interesting time in human history. This whole COVID thing. We know we've had other things in before, like the Black Death and plagues and stuff. But this has been very interesting, especially within my time. That's actually been happening. We're now getting into this new normal, whatever that's going to be. How do you think the business landscape is going to change because of this?
It's going to be amazing. I think it's going to be absolutely amazing for those who are ready. Like I said, you don't know how to lose. You need to adapt. So if you look at history tells you, and I think there's going to be some heavy recessions coming in a big way. I think unprecedented because of the volume, and it's global, of expenditure that's going out there.
So when you say the recession is the next big
I
issue,
see that I see that happening in a big way. Economic downturns, absolutely, and I see that COVID will obviously be the message behind that. But
I think because when they raise the interest rate, that's going to cause a
well,
massive backlash.
we're in that, you're talking about the inflation at the
Yeah.
moment. The inflation has been high for a long time since the crash in 2008. All right, so that's what the market's been manipulated with quantitative easing and so on. But I didn't want to get into too much of the politics of that. What I was more looking at is the history of entrepreneurship. Is that in the toughest times is when most entrepreneurs are born. More millionaires are created in times of recession than any other time. So if you're not on your X and you're not stepping on your X, then there's something wrong. All right, because at this time you're supposed to be on your X and know what you're doing. So I always say there's too much speculation with entrepreneurs. They like to speculate. They don't like to stipulate. And it goes back to your 5 C's and man know thyself. So once you know
what do you mean
yourself,
by speculate and stipulate? What do you mean by
speculating is they're looking at it and they're researching it, but how can I put it? The research is not grounded. They themselves are not grounded in it. There's a lot of hearsay and talk and following patterns and trends. If it's more suited, for instance, all right, social media might be a way to go for your business, but if you're not comfortable with that, and it's not, then you go out and stipulate. Your way might be going door to door. Knocking on people's doors. People say that's out of date now for them, but maybe not for you, because it's what you're comfortable with.
So that's what I say. Because for me, me and George, we've been like banging out social media because we know it's a great way to get ourselves out there and educate people. But my bread and butter is putting on events, and that's where I'm king. Like being out there in front of people, that's where when we fill out a room, I know it's going to be a massive turnout or it's going to be a great success if I'm looking to upsell or put anything in front of them. So yeah, that's my bread and butter. But it's been hard because of how the climate's been. So I totally do agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think now's the time to lock down and get ready. As I say, what is it they say when the going gets tough, the tough get going.
Of course, I do.
And have a plan. Have a plan. Have a plan. See visualization. See your plan. Know what it is that your end game, and whatever you're doing between doesn't matter. A lot of things you might do are a means to an end, but understand your end game. Because once you know your end game, you're in the game. That's the real terms.
Say that again. The bars right there. You put that in the bars, innit?
When you know your end game, you're in the game.
Yeah. So I love that. All right. So this is something, which I think is so important because having someone of your caliber here is really a treat for these people because you cost just your time alone. You cost thousands of pounds just to sit down with. So people don't know how blessed they are. And I think people misunderstand or miss the value of what's before them sometimes. But one of the key things which I've been learning in business, right, there are pillars, things which stand the test of time, right? And within business, the pillars I've come across that I feel business owners, regardless if you're in ideation or you're established, there are certain pillars you need to upheld and make sure that's in your business for it to truly survive. So for me, things like, as we're saying, the art of selling, taking inventory of yourself, learning how to market and brand yourself effectively that articulates yourself to your target audience, learning how to grow a team, building an exit strategy as soon as possible into your business. Those are kind of pillars, which I make sure that and I instill within the people that I'm working with. What would you say are, just give me, say, top 3, top 5 pillars from your standpoint that every business owner from ideation to establish should be sense checking within the business right now?
Well, first one is know your skill set, your limitations, your strengths and your weaknesses. Know where your limitations are. Because as a young person, I always exceeded my limitations, and I thought I was winning. But the thing is, there's other ways to do things, so to speak. So know your limitations, because I think that always allows room for others to come in, and look at turning your weaknesses into strengths. Right? And then when you know your skill and you've got to that skill, understand you've got to find someone to pay for that skill. That's
So
the
growing
reality.
your team, yeah.
Yeah, within that, you've got to find something. Or growing your team is, it's another arm. You're right, but it's getting people to invest their time with you. All right, but what I'm saying is getting customers, because no customers, no business. So you're getting the customers in, and then you can grow your team, because as you scale, that things will scale around you. And in terms of teams, I mean, some people work with teams well, some don't. It's just the reality. Yeah. And that's why one's got to know your skill set, because a lot of the time, a lot of organizations or people, they're always working on team, but maybe the team approach is not necessarily the way. Maybe it might be a franchise model or a joint venture, cross collaboration with other companies. There's more than one way that you can develop team. So it doesn't necessarily have to be like people within the environment you're in. So I would say, as a small business today, I want to know my skill set. I definitely want to be paying attention, educating myself, because business is an education. So I'll be looking for every kind of information I can get. I want to identify exactly what my weaknesses are, so I know where I'm operating. I know when to say no in business, because that's very important. Because then you're putting yourself in a situation. It's not just about converting the deal. It's also about, can you deliver? So understand that and look at the journey. Look to build relationships with customers, and have that level of empathy and trust. And that honesty breeds integrity. So, once you gain that journey.
Like bars, honesty and breeds integrity.
That's right.
Yeah.
Installs integrity, without a doubt. And, don't rush. That's the king. The king is, don't rush. You know your journey, know your end game. You know you're going to get there. So, take your time. Think peripherally. Most people don't think peripherally. Everyone's thinking business about urgency, and it's not. Take your time. Stretch it out. Have a plan, and within that, things will go wrong. But like I said, once you visualize the end game, it don't matter about how you get there. That will change up all the time, as long as you achieve what you set out to do, and that's the key.
And thank you for that. That was some great golden nuggets. And one of the key things which I've been talking to a lot of my entrepreneurs about right now is 3 things that I really want people to urge on in installing within their business right now. Like, number 1 is to grow your team, and it's not as that to get 5 or 6 people. It might just be one extra person. It could be a virtual assistant to come in, or getting a graduate or intern to come in to help with you with certain areas that as you said, that you're weak at. So grow your team that then fits and brings value into the business. If, as you quite rightly said, if that works for you. So, but definitely grow a team. Number 2, I like people to really think about is to collaborate. That collaboration now for me is going to be one of the biggest things. If business want to move quickly in this new normal, is to collaborate as quickly as possible with other organizations to start grabbing some of the market that businesses have now folded into. So for me, that's like the number 2. And then number 3 is to grow your tribe, build your own community. So these are like the key things for me that I'm getting entrepreneurs to really take ownership of within their business if they really want to grow. And I'm seeing those who apply this, massive success right now, even in today's time. And I think that, to me, is something that, if you're not listening, take note, put it to pen and paper, and put it into action. But I just want to throw that in there because that you just dropping golden nuggets, and I want to be part of the conversation.
No, they're good points. They're very valid points.
Yeah. But I got another question for you before we start wrapping up, right? One of the big topics within business and entrepreneurship, and when I do talks, I'm listening to other speakers, and sometimes I want to say, shut up, man. But you know what? It could be my ego, it could be my pride. So you being my mentor, even though you hate me calling you my mentor, right? And I'm going to tell the story how me and Vonley met as well. It's so funny, right? So one of the key things, one of the things I hear people say of our so-called experts, that anyone can be a business person, anyone can be an entrepreneur. Do you agree with that statement?
I think if they're hungry enough, because to me, hunger beats skill. All right, but I think part of the problem is, most people think if you've got money, a lot of money, it's going to make your business work. So, that's not the case.
And a lot of people don't even have no money to even start a business.
Well, there's that end of it, right? But some bootstrapping, which, and they're at a better position, I think, because they have to sell. They're forced to sell. Whereas if you've got a lot of money, if it's your parents or whatever, and they're investing in the business, like a lot of these businesses coming now, these new age type businesses coming out of the software, it makes it, it stifles that hunger. You know, the venture capitalists and all these things investing in, you know, these new age business models. And now the entrepreneur today wants to grow a business up to 5 years and sell it on, and, you know, a bigger corporation or a big corporation comes and acquires them. You know, that's not the way I see it. Entrepreneurs are there to make change. They're there to influence change. Yeah, and for me personally, you have to set out your goals from day one. And for my journey, I can't speak for anyone else, but my journey was always about helping other people. Not necessarily them in it, but helping other people and helping them along their way. You know, because that's the key.
So you believe anyone can be an entrepreneur and business person if they're hungry enough?
Yeah, if they're hungry enough.
All right. So the following question: do you think like people should be starting a business from their passion?
No, far from it. And this is the key. I mean, you know, the key word comes in, like I said, education. Right? You know, if you're willing to learn and you know, analyze, then what's the majority of entrepreneurs, that's not the case. That's why it's 9 out of 10 businesses fail. I just finished some real massive research. And some of the indicators coming out of there haven't changed in decades, even longer. You know, I looked at some of the Nesta reports and the government reports here. You know, all the money they're pumping into this business. I mean, over the last 10 years, it's only increased business by 4%. We're talking about, you know, crazy money here, billions and trillions of pounds. Yeah, so obviously it's not financial what's going to make a business work. All right, so you know, it's the attitude of that individual. If that individual's got the right type of attitude and getting that right. Most people just want, to me, it's like, especially this social entrepreneurship and these different, it's all blasé now. You know, everyone wants to be an entrepreneur because it's fashionable. You know, it's like wearing your clothes. You know? And as soon as they get whacked at the first hurdle, they're leaning over like a little pussycat on the floor. It's not a place for pussycats. It's the home of lions. You know, and if you're not prepared to be a lion and step up, you know, lions get whacked all the time. They get wounded all the time, but they always come back. And more importantly, why I use a lion as a
or lioness,
or lioness.
Well, or even if you don't want to be identified as a lion, you can be what you want.
Right? I was a lion, not a lioness. But, you know, that might change. All right, but you know, so they look and they observe. They observe their prey. You know, they watch and they observe and they're very calculated. Yeah, and this is what we don't do. We think a business is all about urgency. Yeah, like I said, you know, be calm. You know, if you know what you're about and you've set out your stall right, just be calm. Be relaxed with it. And once you're relaxed with that, yeah, of course you're gonna have your dynamic moments and your, you know, your motivational moments, all these things. But underneath all that, there's a level of calmness because the key is when it really gets tough. Yeah, that's when most people chuck in their chips. But that's the time to get going because that's the test of your mettle. All right, and this is what I'm saying. You know, they call it the one of these guys out there. I forget his name now, but he says they get over the valley of death, and that's the first 2 years in business. Yeah, so many businesses fall into that trap, not just in the UK but globally. All right, so bless you. So
Thank you.
It's understanding oneself. You know, you must know yourself, man or woman. Know thyself. All right? Once you know what you're about, you've set out your stall, you will succeed. It's inevitable. All right? That willpower, that mindset, putting yourself in the right frame of mind, getting in touch with yourself, so the right energy. You know, people want to go out and network. They run all these different types of things. It's all good, but at the end of it, what is it amounting to? So if I go out and network, I'm going to look to meet something that's going to be useful. I'm not just going to want to change cards. I'm not just going to talk to, and that's it's all pansy stuff. You know, if you're going out to network, you should be connecting with somebody, as you say, who can collaborate with you in business. Most people don't set out their stall like that. To networking is, what do you do? And how do you do? And what do you do? And they can't wait to say what they're doing. So they haven't even heard what you've got to say. You know, and it might be something that's useful to them. So, you know, there's ways and means. And most people, like you said, when they're starting out in the business, they're not trained in the principles of business. And that's the key.
Yeah. And I totally agree. And for me, I do not agree that everyone should start their business from their passion. Unless it can bring value to the target audience that you want to serve, and you can make money from it.
I can understand.
Yeah, a lot of people have these great passions, but they want to put it out there because they love it so much, and but again, this delusional grandeur kicks in, and it's like because you're passionate about it, it doesn't matter. Is there a market for what you have?
Exactly.
So that's why, for me personally, it's important for people, as you said, to be calm and to assess the situation
Absolutely.
to see, is this right for me to put out? Is this going to fulfill a particular pain point for a customer
Mm.
or enhance any gains that they're going to be looking for,
Mm.
that's going to bring value to them?
Mm.
And that for me personally, when people say, yes, start your business from your passion, I'm like, this is why I'm saying shut up. Like,
It's
seriously.
very
Like,
American.
yeah. So for myself personally, it's
Yeah.
like, make sure you sense check it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be something that, being an entrepreneurial scientist, you can test and see if it's going to be worthwhile.
And you know, if you
Go
do
on.
something, you know, to me, make a start, whether it works or not, make a start, because you're never going to get right the first time.
100%.
You're going to have to keep tweaking it and tweaking it. So starting from a position and then evolving into something else. But I agree, a lot of people, because they're doing it from that blasé approach, and it's all about passion, as soon as their ego, because that's what it happens a lot of the time, they can't, you know, a lot of people cannot manage rejection. Right? And in business, you're going to get a lot of rejection. Yeah. And it's understanding that and overcoming that and coming through. So, of course, if it's their passion and you get a lot of whacks, it's going to be, I can't take that. You see that a lot in MLM. Everybody goes to these hyped up seminars. Yeah, great. Well, come on, tell us how many sales you made this week. Oh, yeah, get down here, jump up. Yeah, I'm doing fantastic. I'm wonderful, great. Right? And next thing, everybody's going out and buying these packages. What they don't tell them, they've actually got to work. They don't tell them that bit. They like the bit of the excitement and the happiness, but when the real work comes in, everybody starts scratching their head. You see? And then they give them kind of line managers and things like that to kind of, you know, build the network, and this is your coach and this is that. But they themselves a lot of the time are not trained effectively. And this is my worry, you know, within the entrepreneur environment. Education now, the universities are starting to recognize that and so on. And I'm doing, you know, work within that environment as well. But even then, it's done in a systematic way. You know, entrepreneurialism is not systematic. Sales is not systematic. So for me, everything I drive is from sales. All right? It's all driven. You're not selling, you're not in business. It's as simple as that. So it's always going to be about that. But at the same time, it's not just about capital. There's different ways that one can sell themselves. I've trained a lot of people in life, and they haven't always gone out and been salespeople. All right? But they've gone out and been able to get themselves into an interview and get past the interview, or go out and find themselves a husband or a wife or whatever it may be, just because they've developed a level of confidence. So, yeah, sales can be used in that way as well. Yeah, we don't always have to look at the end result. It doesn't always have to be a material gain.
Yeah.
There's a lot of humanistic aspects towards what could be developed within that environment. And I think once people understand that as individuals, then they can manage. You know?
I can do this all day with you, but we don't. I can see George now saying, "Hey, you need to wrap this up, son," and that's fine. We're gonna have another time in the new year. I'm gonna bring you back on, and we're gonna have a deeper conversation. But tell us about your academy. Anything else that you want to let people know about you're doing right now, and then also any upcoming events that you might be having.
Oh, we're going to start running I've set up a organisation called the Society of Sales Innovation, and that's sosinnovation.org. And what it's for, this particular model is to get people into selling. So we're going to be getting them into selling and supporting them through that, but teaching them principles in business and so on, but whilst they're selling. So we're going to be running seminars on a regular basis from the middle of October. And that'd be based in West London, but we want to expand that out. It's not MLM, it's a co-op. It's probably the only kind of co-op of its kind in the world. And we've got some very strong principles, including the reduction of poverty, but we're doing it through salespeople. So we're looking at getting people to become self-sufficient and go out and sell. So we link them up to different services and packages that they start, they can get accredited. And, you know, they can go up to a level 7, which is what another business I have, which is a college. And level 7 is equivalent to a master's. So they don't, you know, they're not engaging within the institutional environment. They're able to come in, work, develop themselves as an entrepreneur, and educate themselves as well. I'm a strong believer in education. So that's the key. I mean, I've got a lot of other things going on, but the other key one is graduates into sales. I'm looking at 100 graduates a year. I seek to place in the City of London and become high-flying salespeople.
How do people get hold of this? And do you have any upcoming events where people can come and attend and see this?
Absolutely. I believe it's the 19th we start, but I can forward that information to you as well.
Fantastic. So when we get that, we'll put it out there.
That's right, for the entrepreneurs, and then the graduate program around the same time. But it's only going to be 100, and they all have to come through hurdles. This is not a situation where you come to a webinar and you can sign up at the end. No, it's not that. You're going to have to come through a journey, all right? And, we're looking for paratroopers, SAS. We're not looking for, it's not about lightweights, it's about sourcing heavyweights, and then they can bring through the others to come through. So we're really looking to upset the grain and go into, inner city areas and start getting a lot of these youngsters who are doing illicit things. But not only that, there's a lot of graduates as well who've done the right things and they're still unemployed. So on one side, you've got youngsters who are doing illicit things and they're failing the system. You've got those who've gone through the system, who've done everything right, and they still seem to be failing the system. So where does this stop? So to me, sales is the tool to do that. Don't be looking to rely on anybody. Don't be looking for any handouts. Go forwards and conquer. It's as simple as that. We don't know how to lose.
All right, so how can people get hold of you, Von?
Generally through an email. I don't give out my phone number, but we can put into info@sosinnovation.org or bizdev@sosinnovation.org. That's the best way to get hold of me, and then we can see whether it's worth having that conversation. But I must warn people that we're not easy. There's a lot of other easier operations out there for them to go and learn sales, and they probably will learn sales, but we're looking for a specific type of individual. So it's really on that basis, because we're looking to set a standard and really disrupt the current environment, because it needs disrupting. There's too much negatives and too much badness going on out there, especially in the cities, and that needs to be disrupted. And when we can disrupt that and take ownership, then we're running things. So, we run things, things don't run us, right?
I love that. All right, so people, that's it for today. That has been an amazing interview with Vonley Joseph, or Dr. Vonley Joseph. How do you want to be introduced? I love
just Vono, mate. Von Joseph is all
Von
right.
Joseph,
yeah, no
but
doctors,
I call him my mentor. He's my mentor. Quick, should I drop the story? No, I'll drop the story another time. How I met Vonley, because you guys just been dropped so many golden nuggets today, which is absolutely amazing. So if you liked what you heard today, subscribe to our channel, press the notification bell, click the thumbs up or thumbs down, but leave us a message and communicate with us. And donate for our Patreon link, which is in our description, which George and his magical self always puts there. So Marlon needs to feed his chicken, and George, he needs to be paid big money, people, because I love having him. So thank you so much for being here today. And remember, always, stay true, stay humble. See you in the next episode.